Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into what I like to call a massive paradigm shift, a fundamental rewiring of how we view our daily financial lives so we can finally escape that grueling paycheck to paycheck trap. We're going to unpack the exact psychological divides between the people who constantly stress about cash and those who build lasting wealth. Think about this wild mathematical disadvantage we're all dealing with, mostly without even realizing it. While you and I might only earn money for about 8 hours a day during our working shift, the harsh reality is that we are spending money 24 hours a day. I mean, while you sleep, the meter is literally still running on your rent, your utilities, your taxes, your heating. We're constantly consuming, but we are only occasionally earning. So this relentless ticking clock brings us to a bit of a harsh reality check. There are really four core reasons why we absolutely have to step out of our comfort zones and lock down our financial stability. These four financial realities act as a hidden trap for everyday earners. We just talked about the first one, right? That 24/7 expense cycle versus the 8-hour income cycle. But when you stack that up against unpredictable incomes, the silent theft of inflation, and the incredibly easy trap of consumer debt, you really start to see the cage. These forces keep everyday people on a treadmill where we're just constantly running, constantly working, just to survive another month. Just look at the terrifying imbalance here between our fragile ability to earn and the heavy boulder of our daily bills. Your income, it's inherently unstable. At literally any moment, an illness, a company downsizing, or a layoff could cut off your cash flow completely. But your expenses, they are fiercely fixed. The grocery store, the water company, your landlord, none of them care if you lost your job. That daily pressure doesn't ever take a day off. And then you throw inflation into the mix. Life simply gets more expensive every single day, quietly eating away at whatever cash you actually manage to hold on to. The source material highlights a great historical example using rubles to put this in perspective. Think back to the year 2000 and what 1,000 rubles could buy you. Today, that same 1,000 rubles buys maybe a tenth of what it used to. Your income is constantly losing a foot race against the rising cost of living. Furthermore, because so many folks aren't taught how to navigate those first three pressures, they fall straight into the credit trap. The author notes that among seminar attendees, an alarming 1 in 3 people are barely scraping by, just struggling to make their minimum debt payments. It's tough because many simply don't know how to handle the debt they've accumulated. So, given all this immense daily pressure, we have to stop and ask ourselves a really fundamental question. Who is actually wealthy? When you hear that word, do you just picture someone with luxury sports cars, designer clothes, and a massive house? Because according to our source material, the outward appearance of spending money is absolutely not the definition of wealth. We need to completely redefine it. A truly wealthy person is simply someone whose money works for them rather than someone who works for money. It's all about making that shift from trading your limited hours for cash to having your cash operate completely independently of your time. You really have to start viewing your money as the ultimate tireless employee. Money is a fantastic worker that can labor 24 hours a day without ever needing a break, a vacation, or a sick day. It totally solves that 24/7 expense problem we talked about earlier. But here's the catch. If you don't employ it, if you don't actively invest it, it will happily go work for others, like banks and corporations, to make them rich instead of you. Okay, so now that we've got a handle on what true wealth is, let's dive into the mindset divide. Why is it that some people naturally build wealth while others constantly lose it? The answer is 100% in our psychology. This is just a fascinating contrast. If you give a massive fortune to someone with a poor mindset, it's basically like pouring water into a leaky bucket. They will likely lose it all and be right back where they started within 6 months. But a rich mindset? It acts like a magnet. Take a person with a rich mindset, strip them of every single penny they own, and within 6 months, they'll have rebuilt their wealth. The money itself isn't the deciding factor at all. It's the mind holding the money. This just goes to prove that wealth is not merely a number sitting in a bank account. Poverty and wealth are fundamentally internal states. They're a way of thinking, a whole way of life. Even if you take away a wealthy person's capital, You haven't taken away their knowledge, their skills, or their rules for operating. They still have the exact internal machinery required to generate capital completely out of thin air. You can actually hear this play out in how people talk, right? The consumer mentality is always making excuses, saying things like, well, I have these great ideas, but give me starting capital first, then I'll do something. They think money is the prerequisite for action. The investor mentality, on the other hand, says, I don't need your money. I'll use my knowledge, my experience, and the rules of finance to multiply my income from scratch.
So, the million-dollar question, literally, is how do we escape the consumer trap and actively cultivate this powerful wealth mindset for ourselves?
Well, it boils down to 3 really clear, actionable steps. First, you've got to manage the small amounts of money you have right now. If you can't manage $100, there is no way you'll ever manage $1 million. Second, put your capabilities above money. Invest in your own skills first. And third, you have to become a person of results, not just a person of process. Don't just show up and go through the motions. Demand actual outcomes from your efforts. I really want to pause on that second step because it is a total game changer. If money is placed above your capabilities, meaning you value cash over your own potential, then a lack of cash is forever going to dictate your life. It'll tell you what you can eat, what you can wear, where you can go. But if you elevate your capabilities and your confidence above money, you become the master. You dictate the quality of your own life, and the money naturally follows.
Now, this kind of discipline obviously takes time and effort. The author presents a pretty stark but highly effective timeline here. It is far better to live 35 years consciously, aggressively managing your money and restricting unnecessary expenses so that you can spend the entire rest of your life living exactly the way you want to, on your own terms without ever answering to anyone.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this explainer. As you look at your own daily habits, your bank account, and your overall financial trajectory today, I want to leave you with this one vital, uncompromising question to chew on. Are you spending your one precious life working tirelessly for your money? Or have you finally started putting your money to work for you?